rumors of Juuse Saros' career demise have been greatly exaggerated. On today's show, we'll tell you what was so different about the Saros we saw in net in last night's 2-1 opening night victory.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off our Friday episode shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio and Friends. I have a Thelma to my Hockey Louise.
You do. I am Emma Lingan, and I'm an NHL reporter and host for the Hockey News.
Well, friends, the Nashville Predators are undefeated. Okay, they're 1-0. Last night, the Nashville Predators beat the Columbus Blue Jackets in a frenzied opening night game. Today, we're going to recap that 2-1 win, including our one word to describe the game. We're going to tell you what helped Juuse Saros be the hero Nashville needed. We're also going to break down Brady Martin's NHL debut and tell you the one thing that Bruno did last night that usually drives us absolutely crazy, but had us feeling okay about it last night. Before we dive into all of that, we do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Emma, we always kick off our game recaps with one word to describe the game. I'm going to kick it off with one of our insiders' one word because I just thought this was so great. Their one word was ketchup. We did it a whole year in 2 periods, wandering Whole Foods, but into that third period, they finally found the ketchup. So I was like, that was a crazy game last night. That I was exhausted watching the game last night. So, Emma, of course, Nashville Predators won 2-1. We had goals from Michael Bunting and Ryan O'Reilly. If you had to summarize this game in one or more words, because it's our show and we break the rules when we wanna, how would you summarize last night's 2-1 victory?
Say it with me, everybody. Juice. That's how I summarize it. I mean, it was vintage Juuse Saros. It was, I had people asking me after the game, do you think they looked better than last season? Do you think the team looked better than last year? And I was like, well, first of all, let's acknowledge that the bar is just in a lower circle of hell. So it's all relative, right? So it's hard to be worse than last season. Now,
Fair.
Was the game pretty the entire game? No, it wasn't. Did they get a little bit of help from the goal that was called back due to goaltender interference? Yes. But the constant through all of it was Juuse Saros. And I think that, again, going back to when people ask me, oh, how did they look? Did they look better? And I was like, well, Juuse Saros looked like himself. So I feel like we talk about like regressing to the mean. In this case, it would be progressing to the mean because last year was so bad.
Yeah.
But they have progressed to the mean. Like, this is what we are used to. Juuse Saros having to steal games for this team. Now, is it a winning formula for 82 games? No. Is this exactly where you want to be? No. But this is what we saw 2 years ago. This was like classic Nashville Predators from 2 years ago, where Juuse Saros saves the day. And, I think, again, credit to Michael Bunting. I think his goal was, obviously he scored first. That was a big, energy boost for them. Ryan O'Reilly with the beautiful goal. Oh
Excuse
my
us.
goodness. Top shelf and opening night. Okay. Which is good because then, he didn't have to go staple his fingers to the carpet after the
Thank
game,
goodness. Yeah.
Although maybe he did. Like, I don't know,
I
I
should have
think I
scored
scored
2 of
two.
them.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, it was pretty nice. And so I think we saw, again, we've gotten back to baseline. It feels
Mhm.
like now it's only been one game. And there were plenty of parts of that game, namely the second period in its entirety, that were not pretty.
Yes.
But I think if you got to describe the one word, and I was in the visitors' locker room after and we talked to Matthew Olivier, we talked to Jet Greaves, we talked to head coach Dean Evison. All of them
Yeah.
said, we ran into a hot goalie. And it's like, man, remember how many times we were saying that last.
Yes.
Again, it's only been one game, but how badly we needed that one game. That one game where we could say we had the hot goalie that they
Yes.
went into. Again, not a winning formula for 82 games. No one is saying that, but it worked for them. And it's a great, I think, confidence boost to start the year.
Absolutely. My one word is also about UC Saros. My one word is Return of the Jedi, which I don't know if people know this. I don't know if this is common knowledge among regular people, but my husband's very into Star Wars, Transformers. There's a whole lifestyle. But I don't know if you know this. Return of the Jedi was actually first called Revenge of the Jedi. And so in the collector's world, if you find some toy that was manufactured with Revenge of the Jedi on it before they changed it, it's worth a lot of money, just FYI. But they had to change it because Jedis don't seek revenge. So they had to change the title. And I thought, this is UC Saros. UC Saros, friends, is delightful. He seeks no revenge, but he is sure as heck going to return. And he did. He was the absolute hero that Nashville needed. In case you didn't see the game, didn't see his stats, 37 of 38 saves. 974 save percentage. And the goal that he allowed was a double tip goal. And I agree with you. This is not how Nashville needs to win games. This is not how Nashville can win games down, through 82 games. But people who have been saying UC Saros is not good, UC Saros would like a word. The Jedi has returned. We got a chance to talk to Andrew Brunette after the game and ask him specifically about UC Saros and his confidence level in UC Saros, not just after last night's game, but going into this season. Where was his confidence level with Saros? This is what Bruno said.
I think my confidence level hasn't changed at all. I mean, I think we weren't a lot of help to Juuse last year. Again, don't really want to talk about last year. I think I talked to it about to death and relooked at it to death, but I never lost confidence in him. I didn't think we helped him, and I thought tonight we helped him. He needs to see the puck to be effective. We got to clean the front of the net a little bit better. Even we're not quite there, but it was a good step in the right direction there. And if you do that, you guys all watched Juuse. I watched Juuse 2 years ago. He's as good as there are in the league, maybe the best. And we got to continue a little bit of that process as I'm talking about of growing. So he has a lot of nights like tonight.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree with everything he said. And I think that is important to point out that part of what made UC Saros able to Saros last night was the defense in front of him kept some space clear. Last year, they didn't do that. If there was a rebound, the defense got it and got it out of the way and let UC Saros have a second to reset and be ready. And so while this game is 100% credited to UC Saros in my mind, I also appreciate that the tweaks that they have made on defense, you see that is going to help Saros be Saros.
For sure. And I was sitting there in that interview room in the second row, like, yes, Bruno, preach, because we have been saying this. We never lost confidence in UC Saros. And, they did, I would say, the defense, the guys playing in front of him, it wasn't pretty, but they
Mm-mm.
did just enough. They did
Yes.
just enough. And you know what? We'll take it considering where this team was coming out of last year and frankly where they were coming into tonight. I mean, you had multiple guys making, it was their first opening night,
Yes.
like guys like Joachim Kimmel and of course Brady Martin. um I don't Spencer Stastny, I think, has never played an
I
opening
don't think he
night.
has either.
So I mean, there are a bunch of guys, and opening night's always different. There's nerves and there's, rust to shake off. And I noticed that too, and Bruno said it as well. It's like they looked a little nervous. They looked a little
Mhm.
nervous. And you know
Mhm.
what? That is okay. That's fine. And I think that if you had a nervous team, I think they did okay considering. I think they did fine. I will say defensively, now I would have liked it if they could, spend a little bit of time or a little bit less time in the defensive zone.
Just
Seemed like
saying.
they spent quite a bit of time there, but I agree. It didn't look as frenzied, as panicked. It looked like everybody had an assignment. They knew what they were doing. I for I think Nick Perbix really stood out to me. I thought he looked
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
Of all the defense back there. And if you think about it, that's what you want to see. You want to see that they've added the pieces to make this thing better. And that's not even at full strength. You don't have Nick Hague out there either. You didn't have Nick Blankenberg. He was a scratch as well. So I think that there was a lot to like, still acknowledging there were a lot of nerves, and we'll talk about Brady Martin in a minute. But I think overall solid first win. Like, and
Solid.
undefeated. You can't go 82-0 without going 1-0.
There
So
you go. There you go. Our insiders agree a lot with what Emma and I are saying when we asked for their one word. One insider said juiced. Another one said, my one word tonight is felony. Soros is guilty of stealing that game. We have witnesses. Another one said goal lead. Y'all were right when you said Juice could steal this game. Yes. Yes, we were. Coming up, we are going to talk about Brady Martin's performance, his first game in the NHL. We're also going to talk about what we saw in that second period and then the third period from the Nashville Predators. Today's episode's brought to you by our great friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is finally here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You are going to love how FanDuel gives you so many different ways to play. You could build those same game parlays, try some player props, and even follow the live lines during the games. It's going to make watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you are a casual fan or you love diving into all of the statistics, FanDuel is going to make your game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Emma, we do need to talk about a couple of things here. We need to talk about the second and the third period play. And I think that one of our insiders had some great insight. Her one word was ominous. While the win feels good, it was almost entirely juice. And I think we have to acknowledge, especially in that second period, without Juuse Saros, this team could have been sunk. They really swarmed, Columbus did in the second period. We talk a lot on the show sometimes about something called Corsi 4, and it's an indicator, a general indicator of puck possession. And in the second period, Columbus had an 82% Corsi 4. They really dominated in the second period. They had 6 high danger chances for in the second period alone. Nashville had 6 all night. In 60 minutes, Nashville had 6. In 20 minutes, Columbus had 6. So they really needed Saros in that second period. But the third period, it really did look different, Emma. It really looked different for the Preds in the third.
It really did. And while the inconsistency is not something that you love seeing, the fact that they were able to come back from such a brutal second period, that, mind you, almost saw them go down 2-1. It briefly did, and then shout out Lawrence Filoni and Drew Maloche, the video coaches, 1-for-1 on goaltender interference challenges. And it was I guess the decision, the determination was that Matthew Olivier had backed into Saros, even though it did kind of look like the Nashville defense pushed him into Saros. But you know what? I just neither here nor there.
Details. Yeah.
I will say goaltender interference is such a strange thing in this league. It's very nebulous, and
Yes.
it's very subjective. And so I think, for these guys in particular to challenge for goalie interference, they've got to be really sure.
Yes.
And to their credit, they were. So I think that, they were able to take that, because how many times last season did we see those events, those things that would kind of like suck the life out of them, that would be the just immediate momentum killer? Not that they this time had much momentum to begin with, but like this, it would have been an immediate momentum killer. It would have rattled him. It would have shaken him. But they were able to come back from that. Of course, they got the gift. They got the goal taken off the board. And then they come back in the third period and absolutely dominated.
Yes.
It really was. I mean, if you look at the advanced statistics from the second period and the third period, I mean, you would think it was two different teams. Like,
Yes.
it was so opposite. But I think that having their third period be the best period that they played all night, again, not fantastic, but it was enough. It was just enough to win because you had a good third period and you had a really good goaltender in Juuse Saros.
Yes.
And it's not gonna win you 82 games, but it can win you one. And I thought that it was a good start.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's very reassuring based on what we saw last season for fans who have been through last season to see this team really be back on their heels the entire second period and have that goal scored, have that goal taken back. It was, less than a minute to go, I think. That last year, I think, would have rattled this team too much, especially down the stretch. They came out and played their best period in the third period. And Andrew Brunette said part of that is, like you mentioned, the nerves had kind of settled and they settled in. But that's not something that we saw very much last season. And it was very noticeable last night in those, that last 20 minutes of the game. Our insiders, they noticed the same thing. One said, "My one word, finished. They finished the game in the way they were supposed to." Another one said, "Promising. The fact that they played a full 60 minutes gives me hope that maybe we found our fight and resilience." And I think it's not even so much about the advanced statistics as it is this team showed that resiliency that they really didn't have at the end of last season. We do, of course, have to talk about Brady Martin, little Brady Martin, 18-year-old sprout, made his NHL debut last night as the 1C in the NHL, as 18-year-olds are wont to do. Overall, Emma, what do you take away from Brady Martin's performance last night?
Well, first of all, just to go back briefly to what you said about one of the insiders who said they played a full 60 minutes. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. They did not play a full 60 minutes, but they played the 20 that mattered the most. And that's a good start. As far as Martin, he looked like an 18-year-old. I mean, again, I don't think that is objectively bad. I think it's pretty much what we expected. I don't think it has any impact on what he's going to mean to this organization going forward. I don't think it's, any commentary on his skill, his talent, his pedigree as a top 5 pick. I just think that, that last night reassured me further that this is a tryout for him. This
Mhm.
is just, he's going to get his 9 games and then he's going to go back to the Sioux, which again is not a bad thing. It is just very clear. I mean, he looked a little nervous. Um,
Mhm.
that being said, he didn't make any like glaring mistakes, I don't
Right.
think.
Yeah.
So that's a positive, but I mean, he looked nervous. He was very easily moved off the puck.
Mhm.
These guys are a lot bigger than him. And he kind of joked afterwards. He's like, I'm going to need to hit the gym. Everyone's stronger than me. And it's like, well, your frontal lobe, not to mention the entire rest of your body, has not developed
Yes.
yet.
Yes. Give it
Young
time.
child, young sprout. So again, I think he looked nervous. He looked, like he was getting moved off the puck pretty
Mhm.
easily. But to his credit, he hung in there. Like he kept, at no point did he look, I'm just defeated and I've surrendered to this. He fought back every time and he fought to stay in it. Now, it was quite a bit of treading water and
Mhm.
maybe a little doggy paddling like to stay in it, but he stayed in it. He didn't quit. And I think that's what, we go back to when he was drafted and you talk about the intangibles and things about a player's game. And that's good to see. You don't need him to be a true 1C at 18 years old. You don't
Not
need that.
now. No.
No. But what you need to see is that he's got that, that resilience, he's got that relentlessness, he has that motor that's going to keep him afloat. Now again, wasn't, I don't think it was glaringly awful. I wasn't watching him at any point like, oh dear God, get him off the ice. But I think it was fine. It was
Yeah.
fine. And I think again, it just reassured me. It's like, all right, this is his tryout. He's getting a little 9-game taste, maybe less. And then he's gonna go back to the Sioux. But
Yeah.
I think it was fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you touched on something that I think is really important to remember in anybody's first NHL game, especially in an 18-year-old's first NHL game. I did not ever see Brady Martin on the ice and go, "Oh, whoa, what are you doing?" And sometimes not noticing him is a compliment. I did not necessarily notice him making big mistakes that you're like, "Oh, that doesn't work in the NHL." You didn't see that. He had some good plays where you see, okay, he gets the game. And I think this is a successful debut for Brady Martin. You don't ask for more from Brady Martin. And so I'm with you. I will say this, I very rarely get the chance to watch a game at home because I'm usually there covering it, and I wasn't. Somebody else was covering the game last night. And so I had the joy of watching a split screen of Brady Martin on the ice and his mom watching Brady Martin on the ice. Y'all, so cool. So yeah, I agree with you. When you look at this team, do you have major concerns from last night's game? When you look at it, what do you say? Ooh, you know what you're going to need to do right away? You're going to need to fix this.
Uh, I mean, it depends. Major is relative considering it's been one game, but I mean, I think the consistency is a big factor. I mean, you're going to need to play 60 minutes. They did not play 60 minutes. I would say they maybe played 30.
Mhm.
So that's a start. But I think that, you need to see them locked in. And again, to me, at this point, it's hard not to make that a major concern because we still have last year so much on the mind. But if you
Yes.
really think about it, put it into perspective, it's been one game.
Mhm.
Everyone's a little nervous. There's a little rust to shake off. I get all of that. So it's not really a major concern for me, but I think you need to see that. Um, Again, specifically that second period, would like to see
Oof.
them spend a little bit less time defending,
Mhm.
even though they defended better than they did at any point last year. But they let Saros see the puck. They didn't look panicked. That was good. That was all positive. But I mean, you'd like to see them spend less time in the defensive zone, more time, spending more time creating chances, creating scoring chances. Saw a couple guys who I think were not afraid at all to put the puck on the net. I mean, to me, Michael Bunting immediately stood out
Come
as one of the guys.
on.
He had the puck. He was putting the thing on the net. Like
Mhm.
come hell or high water, he was doing it. And so I think that, if you can get a little bit more of that, especially at 5-on-5, once again, same thing. The power play looked fine. I mean, they didn't score and it looked fine. Penalty kill looked good. I mean, it was just you just need to see a little bit more of that creation, that offensive creation.
Yeah, I agree with that. Coming up, Emma and I are going to tell you the one thing Andrew Brunette did that usually drives us nuts, but it felt okay last night. We're also going to preview the Utah Mammoth game. All right, Emma, one of the things that has driven you and I almost to drink is that Andrew Brunette loves to switch up the lines. And we saw that happen a little bit last night. But I think I feel okay with this because the thing that he did at different points was pull Brady Martin out for a shift or two and put Steven Stamkos on that top line. And this made sense to me. Number one, the pace of this game was so fast. Whether you were debuting in the NHL or you were watching this game, I found myself really having to track this game because it was so fast. And I think it was good for Brady Martin to take a couple of shifts and sit and watch and catch his breath. I also think it was smart from Bruno's part because Steven Stamkos did not get going in that game. And that was like, I think maybe as much a chance to try to get Steven Stamkos a little bit of juice to go back with Svechkov and Kimmel. It didn't necessarily pan out, but I will say this. I felt okay with that decision from Andrew Brunette. And you know that you and I generally don't love when Andrew Brunette does that line stuff.
No, and I will say I agree with you. Stamkos did not get going in that game.
No.
He also sound of failure. He hit a post. I can't remember
Bless.
when it was, but it
He
was like,
sure did.
oh, and we're back. But I think I agree with you. Not only, I'm okay with him taking Martin out for a few shifts because he put him back in. He ended up
Yes.
putting him back in afterwards. It's like,
Loved
okay,
that.
you can go home again. You can, like reverse course here. And it wasn't because what we saw so much last year was like, oh, you are banished now to the
Mhm.
fourth line until the end of time. And it's like, not only would we not see him go back in the top line that game, we wouldn't see him again for weeks,
Right.
like based on last year. So I think it was good. I think it was smart. Again, literally was playing against children last year. And
Children.
now he is a child. He is children. And now he is playing against full-grown men. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so I think in this particular case, I am okay with saying,
Mhm.
you know what, give him the few minutes, like you said, catch your breath, watch. Again, Stamkos could have used the juice. He didn't really find it at any point, but
Yeah. I
whatever.
will say that's one of those things that I want to keep my eye on is that Svechkov, Stamkos, and whether it's Kimmel Saturday night or whether Evangelista is available, we don't know yet. But Steven Stamkos has to get going for this team. And it's a little bit of a tricky situation because Stamkos has to get going, but he's also on a line with a younger center figuring things out and potentially a younger winger as well. So that's something I really would like to see is let's get Stamkos going. I will say this. You don't want to take too much from one game because this is one game. But I think that this was a good win for Nashville, specifically against this opponent, because last season, Columbus scored the most goals in the entire NHL at 5-on-5. They were the number one goal scoring team in the regular season at 5-on-5. Nashville last season was basically dog poo defensively at 5-on-5. And I say that respectfully, but they were not good. They were the 5th worst at 5-on-5, giving up goals. So I think that this was good. I feel reassured that some of the changes that we've seen them working on in training camp, Emma, defensively may be headed in the right direction. I feel good that we saw some tenacity and fight from this team. And I just think for this team, it was good emotionally to get a win. And I think it was good to get a hard win. I think this 2-1 nail biter was better for this team emotionally than a 5-1 blowout. So I feel pretty good about how they kicked off the season.
I do too. I think it's kind of, it's a realistically positive expectation to have. It would be great. They come out, they score 8 goals and just blow them out. But like realistically, no one thought that was going to happen.
No.
And so I think that, again, credit to Jet Greaves, young goaltender in net for Columbus. And I think he's going to be a great goalie in this league. My thing with that though is that I just don't feel like the Predators challenged him all that much. And so I don't mean to take anything away from him, but it's like they just weren't, they weren't creating those chances as much. So I think, again, I'm with you. I think this is good because how many close games did we see them lose? How many times did
22.
they fall short?
22.
Because they, and I mean, again, even with the third period being their best period, quite honestly, even if they had lost this game by 1 goal and the third period was still their best period by far, I would still feel encouraged. I just think because we saw this team lose steam so much,
Yes.
towards the end of the game last year. And now we're, again, it's been 1 game, but it's a positive trend in the right direction.
Yeah. They have Utah Saturday, hosting Utah at home Saturday, the Utah Mammoth. This is a team to have a lot of respect for. And when I look at this game, Emma, you touched on exactly what I think Nashville has to clean up and do differently, and that is generating better offensive chances. If you look at their heat maps is what they're called from last night's game against Columbus, and it shows you where are the shots coming from. And the darker the color, the more shots are coming from that area. And Columbus's shots was very dark right in front of Juuse Saros. Nashville's shots through the second period, the slot was a barren wasteland, my friends. It was a barren wasteland of no color. It was just white like you were going towards the light. Nashville cannot keep shooting from the perimeter. I'm all about getting pucks on net, but you have to have people there to clean up anything that is loose there, or you need to get pucks to the slot and put them on net. And so that is something they are going to have to do against Utah. I really want to see them get some more high danger chances, get into the slot, get in front of the net, put some puck. I mean, like, for the love, it is not lava. The slot is not lava.
Channel your inner Michael Bunting, everybody, and
Everybody.
And Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, look where his goal last night, right in front of the net, top shelf, over the shoulder, thing of beauty.
Oh my gosh.
Good things happen when you go to the net. Crazy.
Yeah. I love Philip Forsberg's comment after the game. Somebody was asking him about Ryan O'Reilly's goal. And he's like, it's kind of funny. It's world class, but basically we just see it all the time. So we're like, it's Thursday. He just was like, I mean, we are impressed, but we also see it all the time. So, but yeah, I think getting into those high danger areas, getting in front of the goaltender, we don't get pretty points in the NHL. I also think it is important, and we touched on this earlier, we got to get Steven Stamkos going. Whatever that is going to look like, whatever that's going to take, you've got to get him going in this game as well. What else do you think Nashville needs to do against Utah, Emma, to make this a competitive game for the Preds?
I think this is more of an intangible thing, but I think they can set the tone early. They can set the pace early, because watching a little bit of Utah's game against Colorado last night, it wasn't quite as stark, to be clear. It wasn't like a huge drop off, but Utah kind of had the opposite trajectory that Nashville did. Utah's best period against Colorado was the first period. And then now again, it wasn't a massive drop off. They didn't look god awful by the third, but it was clear. It was very clear last night. Nashville's best period was the third. And in Utah's game, their best period was the first. They were creating a lot more chances. And then it kind of just slowly declined as they went on. And so I think that that's an area where Nashville can, they have a chance if they can jump out to a strong start and set the tone early. That'll be a positive thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And friends, you have to take Utah very seriously this season until they prove otherwise. You mentioned last night's game against Colorado. I personally think Colorado is in the Stanley Cup Finals conversation this season. And Utah, like you said, they really hung in there with this team. This is a very good Utah team. I also just, as a side note, I want to give a shout out to close personal friend of ours, because he liked my outfit once. Scott Wedgwood was in net for Colorado. You all, if you did not see any of that game, go look at the highlights from that game, because Scott Wedgwood was a man possessed in net. Absolutely crazy save. So shout out to friend of the show, Scott Wedgwood, who likes my Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah.
Love that for me.
He looked great. He looked good in their opening night win against LA as well. Really strong showing from him. So yeah, and I think we're talking about goaltending. I mean, Utah, they've got Carl Vejmelka, who was fantastic for them last year. Another, like you said, needs to be taken seriously. And again, I think that he's a goalie that you need to challenge a little bit more. If you're Nashville, you need to press him a little bit more. Again, no disrespect to Jet Greaves. I think he's a fantastic young goaltender, but I think that they definitely could have challenged him more. And they didn't. So it's, something I would like to see. That if you look at Utah's roster, they have a very clear advantage over Nashville in the forward group. They have a really dynamic, young, high octane offense in their forward group. Nashville, not as much. Defensively, Utah's solid. They're really solid, I think. But I think that this is one of those things where you don't want to see Nashville get exposed, defensively. Forward wise, scoring wise, that Utah's got a little bit of the edge there. But I think that defensively, I'd like to see Nashville take a step forward there.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting, too, to see what the lineup is Saturday night. Will they put Brady Martin back in Saturday night? And if they don't read too much into that. They are going to ease him through this. So I'm not going to be concerned. I'm not going to take a ton away from it if Brady Martin isn't playing. I'm not going to be super concerned if he is playing. It's going to be interesting to see if Vange gets back in. And if he does, what do you do with Joachim Kimmel? Because Joachim Kimmel, I thought, had a very good game last night. Didn't score, but I think he was very aggressive offensively, and we need to see a little bit more of that from the team. The other place that I'm kind of watching is the Tyson Jost, Ozzy Weisblatt. Tyson Jost got the start on the fourth line last night, and it was fine.
I wanted to give him a shout out. He had a couple plays near the net. Again, didn't score, but he looked like a man possessed out there. He was out there knocking heads, knocking guys off of pucks, and definitely, it didn't look like a high skill guy, but he's your fourth line center. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think he was fine. Not mad about his performance at all. He's a guy that I noticed a couple times where someone makes a play and you're like, who was that? And you're like, oh, Tyson Jost. Okay.
Yeah. Number 17. Who's number 17?
Mark Jankowski. Are you back?
Exactly.
I have that thought always at the beginning of the year. You always have that. You're like, wait, who is that again? Like, what number is he?
Yeah.
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 So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this lineup. And like, again, is Evangelista going to be available? We don't know. Do want to see a little bit more out of that second line? Stamkos, Svechkov, and, Kimmel or Evangelista on Saturday night as well. Emma and I are going to be watching the game on Saturday night. And on Monday, we are going to bring you the game recap, including our one word to describe the game and break down everything that we saw from a game that is going to be a fair measuring stick for the Nashville Predators going forward. So it's going to be really interesting Saturday night to see what we see from the Predators. And we will, of course, talk about it all on Monday's show. But before we log off for this Friday, for the weekend, let everyone know where they can find you and your work.
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan. You can find my work at the Hockey News, and you can find me still chuckling about the fact, I had to throw this in, that the welcome back Dante Fabro video in the first period was played while he was in the penalty box. And I literally I was sitting next to someone on Media Row, and I was like, before it even happened, I leaned over. I said, wouldn't it be funny if, and then it happened. And I was like, wow, that was just great.
That's amazing.
Cinema. It was great.
I mean, you couldn't have scripted it. You
It
couldn't
was-
have scripted it. There it was. There it was. You can find me on social media at @AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. Friends, that is going to do it for this Friday episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, if you missed any of the NHL action last night, go check out NHL Game Night. Locked On NHL Game Night is going to recap all of the games across the league for you and keep you caught up. We will be back on Monday to summarize whatever we see Saturday night. We hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you then.